Okay, it's that time. It's time to get started. Thank you to everybody for participating today. We are so excited to have you on the line to learn about this extraordinarily important topic, networking in the era of social distancing. Thank you again. My name is Mary Claire Kraft. I work in career services as the manager of employer outreach, and we couldn't be happier that you made the choice to spend this time with us today. You will see on the beginning slide here that we're asking everybody to remain on mute. This is especially important because we are recording this session. My next slide will show where your mute button is if you're having trouble finding it. But again, it is really important that everybody stay on mute. There will be a time for question and answer. That will come next after the presentation, and everybody will be putting their questions into the chat field, and I'll show you how to do that. This is the opening session of Career Launch 2020. All of the events that we're hosting are on the screen right now. If you haven't taken a look at them, please do. They're all in Handshake. We'd love to have you for as many of them as possible. Each and every one of these sessions has been customized to provide all of you with advice given our very unique climate of this year. For those of you that are looking for jobs, for those of you that are just getting ahead in your search, I think you'll find that all of these events will have information for you. So please take a look, share it with your friends, and hopefully we'll see you for a lot of these events. So here's some very important information, more specifically for the people who may not be able to hear me right now. If you ever do run into trouble with the audio, this phone number is on the screen. I will also be typing it into the chat field momentarily. It's possible that during the webinar or after, you may be contacted by myself, Mary Claire Kraft, or my colleague, Christy Michaels, to verify your name. This is just for our record keeping and nothing of any sort of official nature. We just like to know how many folks are interacting with us during the time of moving all of our events online. So thank you very much for your cooperation there. If you should run into any technical challenges during this event, please send me a chat. The next slide will show you how to do that, and I'll do my best to help you. I'll admit it's not my #1 skill set, but I'll try very hard. So if you have a question, you can go ahead and ask it at any time. Again, we won't get to it until the end of the presentation, but you can write it down in the moment. And to ask it, you're going to use the chat box. On the screen, you can see what the chat box looks like. If for some reason you accidentally minimize your chat box during the course of the presentation, that's okay. This little blue icon that you see this arrow pointing to, that's how you get your chat box back. For those of you who I was working with on trying to figure out how to mute yourself, this gray microphone image is how you would do that, okay? So please, if you're not muted, check for that microphone image and go ahead and mute yourself now. Oh, it's also very important that if you ask a question that you make sure that all participants is noted in the to field as seen on this slide here. If it doesn't say to all participants, we may not be able to read your question. Lastly, there may come a time in the presentation where our presenter, Carolyn, will ask you to raise your hand virtually as sort of a poll taking measure. You can see on the screen how to raise your hand. It's a little tiny hand icon on the participants list. If you do raise your hand during the course of the presentation to participate in one of these polls, please do then make sure you lower your hand by clicking on it again, so that way we can clear the poll and start over for the next time. Okay? I believe that is everything I have as far as a little bit of housekeeping. Thank you again, everybody, for joining, and I am going to turn the controls over to our presenter for today, my colleague, Carolyn Kleiman, who will first introduce herself and then get us going with the content. Thank you, Carolyn.
Everyone, oh, uh-oh. Hello? Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Carolyn. Go ahead.
Okay. My microphone kept blinking, so I wasn't sure. Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I'm Carolyn Kleiman. As Mary Claire introduced me, I am one of the career counselors at University Career Services, and I'm going to talk to you today about networking in a virtual space, which is what we are in now. And to tell you the truth, it's not that different than how we network normally when we're not in this sort of space, but I hope to give you a few additional pointers of how you can utilize this time while we are in a stay-at-home situation to really take advantage of some of the tools that we use in our networking. So I will be pulling up a PowerPoint, and every now and then when we get a little deeper in the presentation and we're getting toward the LinkedIn aspects that I'm going to talk about, I will also flip out of my presentation and go live into my personal LinkedIn to make sure that you are all seeing what I'm trying to demonstrate on the slide. Let me get my stuff ready to go. Not letting me share, Mary Claire.
I'm sorry, Carol.
Hand over the reins, please.
There you go.
Thank you. That's not it. All right. Can everyone see that presentation?
Yes, it looks great.
Okay. Okay, super. So thank you for joining me today. And as I said, the networking during social distancing is not going to be that different than it normally is, but it is a critical tool, as it is always in your career development. And I'm going to walk you through some strategies for using LinkedIn and HANDSHAKE in order to make the most of your network during this time. So hopefully you all know this, but just in case you don't, networking is not asking someone to give you a job, but it is engaging in conversation really anytime you meet with someone new or someone old that you're reconnecting with. So anytime you join a club, an organization, work on a project for a class, any of those times you are networking, even striking up a conversation with someone on the metro. Remember the metro? We'll get back on it one day. And that's where you can meet people too. But as of now, we're not meeting people on the metro, so we're going to be mostly interacting with people in a virtual setting. So I would like everyone to take a moment, and you can utilize the chat box as Mary Claire referred to earlier. And I'm just going to take a brief pause here so that a few of you, hopefully, will introduce yourselves, tell someone your name, your major, what degree you're getting, when you're graduating, what you're hoping to look for in your job search endeavor. And I'd like a few people to participate and introduce themselves to the group if you would.
So as Carolyn said, just go ahead and use that chat field to type what you would say to somebody in person when you're making that first introduction. As when we started the webinar and I introduced myself, I'm Mary Claire Kraft. I'm the manager of employer outreach for George Mason University at Career Services. And I love networking with students and alum and finding out what sort of neat things everybody has done post Mason. That's an example of what you might type.
Okay, I'm seeing some chat box getting populated with folks introducing themselves. So thank you for participating. And guess what? You just networked. So we'll wrap it up here. No, I'm just kidding. So this is great. So all of you now, I lost track of how many folks are participating, but I know probably at least 70 folks or more are in this webinar right now. So this is a great opportunity. You all have just networked and increased your circle by 70 plus people right off the bat. So wonderful. That's it. That's all networking it is. Introducing yourself, talking to people, letting them know what you're interested in and what you do. And now I'm going to walk you through how you can continue to make the most of these types of conversations. So at Mason, our goal is to help you get career ready when you graduate. And how do we help you do this? Well, we really lean on what we call the career readiness equation. And we use the formula to support students while they earn a degree, encourage you to connect to opportunities and gain experience. And then we hope to teach you how to market yourself and then putting all those pieces together to become a career ready graduate. And as you can see, networking is key to the marketing yourself piece of the equation. So let's talk about the stages of a job opening. So this is going to help you understand why networking is important. So at the first stage, as you can see from the chart, there's no defined opening, but that doesn't mean that employers don't want to know who are the good people that are available and out there. So it's important, even though there might not be an opening, people always want to know people. The next stage of a job opening, the need becomes clear. So the inside people know, we're going to need to replace so-and-so, or we just landed that new client and we're going to need to grow the team. So employers start to know that there is a need, but they haven't really done anything to hire someone or fulfill that need. The next step becomes a little bit more crucial. This is sort of the pivot point. It's called in-house sourcing. And this means the employer is starting to accept referrals, letting people know through the grapevine that there's going to be an opportunity available in the company. And so this is when we start to maybe get into advertising the position, at least internally, spreading the word to our internal networks. So this is a prime time for referrals to be accepted. The next phase is the last phase, and that's when the position becomes advertised publicly. That's when you'll see it on Indeed, the company's website, social media, things of that. That means anyone in the world can see it, and therefore anyone can apply. And so really at stage 3, the latest is when you want to start to get your connection going, right? Because you want to beat people to the punch about getting in on that advertised position. So let's kind of flip the page and think about this from the employer's perspective, right? Because I'm talking about it from the job seeker's side of things, of course. But on the employer side, hiring is risky business, and we spend a lot of time with our colleagues, more than we even do with our own families, or at least before we were in this situation. But hopefully we'll get back to that. So anyway, how much that employer can really tell about a person based on a piece of paper, your resume, is a little tough. Maybe they get to know you a little bit better in an hour-long interview. Still kind of tough. But when an employer has an opening, the first thing they do is they start to go through their contact list in their head. They think, I have an opening, who do I know? Who might my people know? That's the first thing they do. That's what they want to do. They want to find out who knows who that might be a good candidate for this job before I post it and I get 500 resumes for one opening, right? And so the idea is they might start to think about who's available. If they can't come up with someone, then they might go ahead and start to advertise the job. Let's say you've made the cut, but now I don't know who to pick. I have a couple of qualified finalists. So maybe it's a little bit easier if someone on my team says, oh, I met Mary Claire at an event at Mason, and she seemed really professional and really easygoing and really bright and motivated and eager. So if it's between Mary Claire and Charlie Brown, I think maybe Mary Claire might be a good fit for our team, right? So that's where companies have referral programs, because if I was the one that made the referral, I might even get a little bonus money. So people love to refer other people for jobs because it's usually a win-win for most people. So let's talk about who's in your network. This is really the five F's, excuse me, are how you can really think about who is in your network and who's making up your network. It's your family, it's your friends, it's your faculty, it's your fellow Mason students and alumni, and hopefully a lot of you I saw were introducing yourself and using that chat box, so now you made more friends, more fellow Mason students, and it's also foundations or professional associations. So for those of you who feel, but I don't have an extensive network, you can change that. Networks are built. The more people you meet and share your interests with, the better. They can refer you to jobs that haven't even been advertised yet or be on the lookout for your resume when an opportunity comes along. So I want you to identify your network and your current situation. How many people do you think you have in your network right now? 100? Maybe 500? Think about it. Just being at Mason, you've got 37,000 people in your network. So you want to reach out and start to build that network, connect with people. And the most important thing is when you connect with people, you also want to ask them to connect you to at least one other person. That is the key to growing your network, asking people to introduce you and connect you to someone else. And I want you to think not only about who you know about in your fields of interest, but I want you to just think about who you know, period. People often find themselves in conversations where one person might say, oh, someone in my office is about to leave, and I know we're going to need to fill that position. I don't want you to think, oh, well, I'm not an accountant, so I can't help you. I want you to think, I'm not an accountant, but my friend mentioned his roommate is an accountant, and I'm going to put you two in touch. That's what networking is about. So it's not just thinking about your own specific need and what you do, it's thinking about who else you know. And that's how networking starts to evolve and develop. I'd like for you to think about the fact that if you're a student or about to graduate, there's a lot you could do to leverage your current status. So professional associations and conferences often have significant reduced rates to join and become a member when you are a student. So take advantage of this because it's a big money saver. You can go to a conference for a reduced rate. You can ask for a scholarship or apply for a scholarship. You could offer your services as a volunteer and get reduced rate or the ability to attend the conference, which of course is a networking opportunity. While you're here at Mason, if you're still taking classes, be strategic in your career, in your course choices. Think about what you want to do and what you're trying to gain experience. So pick courses that have an experiential component, where there's a case study, where we're going to actually build a website for a nonprofit organization, where I'm going to go out and have the chance to problem solve for an actual business problem. Try to connect with research opportunities, and perhaps you can think about what organization might benefit from your research outcomes that you could share them with, or who could you meet with as part of your data collection phase. This could also be helpful. Think about opportunities on campus where you can build your network, join a club or organization where there is an action-oriented piece to the club's mission. Think that people want to help other people most of the time, particularly alumni or recent professionals, because they usually like to give back to the community that they were recently connected to. And they like to mentor and they want to help. You just have to ask. So let's get into LinkedIn. So why use LinkedIn? Well, it's free. And even though there is a premium site that you can pay for, you could really do a lot on LinkedIn for free with the free version. So I think it's a great place to start. It's got over 610 million users. New people are joining constantly, and it's a great way to tell your story, your professional story beyond your resume. It's not just putting your resume in on your profile. It's really a chance to sort of breathe life into that resume. You can add projects, you could add links, you could add multimedia, you could publish articles, and you can harness your network, which of course I'm going to get into and talk about a little bit further. But before I dive into LinkedIn and all the great ways that you can use it during your networking, this is where I would like to take a poll. So I know Mary Claire had originally said at the start that I'm going to take a poll. This is the poll portion of the workshop. So please get ready to use the raise hand icon. And then when I get the signal, you will be asked to lower it. And then I'll ask the next question. I do have 4 questions where I'm just going to have you raise your hand so I kind of can gauge the audience and your knowledge of LinkedIn. So my first question is, who already has a LinkedIn account? Please raise your hand.
Okay, hands are starting to go up.
Okay.
Out
Nice.
of 82 attendees so far, 41. Anyone else want to raise a hand? Who has a LinkedIn account? It looks like approximately, well, it's still going up. About 50 of the 81 people on the line, Carolyn, have a LinkedIn
Okay.
account.
Great. So
Great job, everybody.
more than half of my audience already has a LinkedIn account. So that's great. What I'm hoping is that as I go through the presentation, those of you who already have a LinkedIn account, I'm going to give you ideas and strategies of how to make it work for you a little bit more. And those of you who don't have a LinkedIn account, I will give you ideas and tips on how to get started and hopefully entice you to start using LinkedIn. No, I don't work for LinkedIn. I don't get a bonus if you sign up for it, but I am a pretty big fan of it because of the work that I do, of course. So if you could lower your hand, because I've got another question coming. Who has a completed profile? It's one thing to have an account, but it's one thing to have a robust, complete profile. So who out there has a good LinkedIn profile?
Okay, the hands are going up. Let's see. Give it another second. It looks like about 34 people have completed profiles.
Okay, so even though about half to 2/3 of you have a LinkedIn account, less than half have a completed profile. All right, that's good. That's good to know. And who amongst you who has a LinkedIn account would say you already have at least 100 connections?
At least 100 connections. We'll wait to see how many hands go up. 20.
Okay, and I'll be honest, I'm not surprised that as my questions go on about LinkedIn that the numbers start to dwindle. And that's okay. That's why I'm here presenting today. So no shame in that. And my last question is, who uses LinkedIn beyond the profile page? Meaning I don't just go in and build up my profile, but I'm reading articles, I'm following companies, I've joined groups, I look at jobs. So who's going kind of beyond the profile on using LinkedIn? Raise your hand. Thank you for your honesty. Someone just chatted hardly ever.
It's good to know, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. I
Looks
find
like
that a lot of people honestly come into the Career Center and they'll say, I have a LinkedIn, but I never use it. I never go on it. So I'm not
that rings
surprised. And
that
that will
rings
change after
true.
today.
At its peak, right now I have 20 displayed. It got as high as 30.
Okay. All right. So before we dive into ways to make this LinkedIn experience a little bit more robust for you, I do want to just share another great reason to log into LinkedIn is LinkedIn Learning, which technically you don't even need a LinkedIn account to get into LinkedIn Learning. You could go to lil.gmu.edu and you can access LinkedIn Learning. But I do think it's helpful to have a LinkedIn account and then access the LinkedIn Learning, because when you do so and you complete a course from LinkedIn Learning, you can then post it to your profile. And I've also found in my experience that I've often been able to then connect with the facilitator or instructor of that course, which of course expands your network. So it's nice when you can do that too. Some industries now, more than ever before, are seeking to hire specialists as opposed to generalists. So developing that niche area of knowledge is a good thing, and it's available for free on LinkedIn Learning. And employers from nonprofit, education, consulting, retail, federal government, technology, media, and PR are still hiring and recruiting. And at this point, they might not be able to move forward as quickly as before. So they're really open to informational interviews, which are career conversations, which I'll be getting to soon. So really take advantage of this time and connect to people on LinkedIn, because now is the time where they're really willing and able to start having conversations with folks. So let's dive into LinkedIn. Let the fun begin. So first and foremost, you want to make yourself easy to find. Now, granted, everybody loves the idea of, oh, I'm going to go on LinkedIn and recruiters are going to find me and then they're going to hit me up and I'm going to have all these opportunities. Yes, that can happen, but does it happen a ton of time at the intern or entry level? Probably not as much as we would like it to. But you do want yourself easy to find, because when you are in the job search process, when you are in the interview process, people are probably going to look you up to check you out a little bit more, to find out more about you beyond that piece of paper, that resume. And so you want them to be able to find you quickly and easily, and you want them to be able to find you on LinkedIn because it's putting your best professional step forward. So make yourself easy to find. How do you do this? I'm going to have you refer to my slide, and then I'm going to flip over to LinkedIn just to make sure that it's clear in case it's not from my slides. So first, of course, is you want to click on your Me icon where that drop-down box is, and then you're going to be able to click where it says View Profile. And once you do that, you're going to click a little pencil icon that's going to come up, and it'll say More next to Edit Your Public Profile. And then you can edit your visibility on the right rail. This is going to let you select the parts of your profile that you want to display or hide. And I usually do recommend to people, when you're first working on your profile, maybe to keep your information hidden so it's not public. And then once your profile is a little bit more polished and ready to go, then you go ahead and make it visible to people. When you make it visible to people, maybe right away you want to make sure you're Googling yourself so that you could see what stuff comes up about you, whether it be LinkedIn or other things. And you might want to ask a trusted friend to also Google you and see what they find, and ask them what they think your brand is. You want to try to be consistent with what's out there about you. So if you'll bear with me for a moment, I'm going to try to flip over to my LinkedIn and just show you how you can do this in real time. So bear with me for a second. Okay. So this is my LinkedIn. So as I was saying, first you want to log in and click on your Me and then View Profile. And then next to the More button, you've got a little pencil looking thing. That's a pencil for those of you who haven't seen one. And then that's going to take you into your profile, and you can adjust any of the information here. And then you have See Visible. Right now I am visible to my connections, and you can adjust this by clicking on it to see who can see what about you. And then of course, be sure to save it. Okay. So we'll get back to my live LinkedIn profile in a minute. I'm just going to be kind of flipping back and forth here. So bear with me and my screen while I do so. Okay. The big thing with LinkedIn is people like pictures. They like to put a name and a face together. So just so you know, profiles with headshots are more likely to be viewed. And you don't have to be in formal attire, but you do want to have a picture that's well lit and appropriate, whether it be in the background, what's in the background, what you're wearing, things of that nature. And I also recommend to consider the industry that you're interested in and maybe dress accordingly. So if you're interested in finance, then maybe you would want to make sure you're in a dark suit, have a tie on if that's your style, and your gender identity and things of that nature. If you're interested in the entertainment industry or media or PR, you might be able to, have a little bit more color and be a little bit more creative with your outfit. But the idea is you want to dress accordingly and professionally. Different types of pictures than you would put on your Instagram or Facebook, right? What I would recommend when you're getting started with your LinkedIn is to have a strong headline. So the headline is the thing that we see right under your picture, and I'll be going back to my LinkedIn to show you, but it's the part where it says a header. It's like your tagline right under your product, which is your photo. And you want to have a strong headline. So you don't want to have things that say college graduate or student, current student, job seeker. Definitely stay away from unemployed, because this is sort of your tagline, your header, how you're introducing yourself to the LinkedIn world. So we want to stay away from those being our headlines. You want to try to do something that showcases your skills and experience and or states your professional aspiration. So really think about who you are as a professional or a rising professional and what you want people to know about you as soon as they get to your page. So I have a couple of examples on the slide to give you ideas of how you can present this information. And as I said, I will once again flip back. Sorry about that. So we're back to me live on LinkedIn. So here's me, here's my name, and then here's my headline: career strategist, coach, workshop facilitator, motivational speaker, and career development instructor. This is sort of how I identify myself professionally. So when people are looking for me or looking at me, they're going to kind of know what I'm about right away. This is my brand. The next part of your profile is your About section. So this is really just a few lines where you're going to talk about yourself and you want it to grab the reader's attention. Make it about what you can do for them. So you technically have more than 3 lines, but for someone to see more than 3 lines, they have to click on the see more, which is a little faded next to your first 3 sentences. And so they may or may not be doing that. And so you want to make sure that at least those 3 sentences say what you want to say, because that may be all they look at or read about you. The important thing to remember is that this is really not about you, even though it's about you, right? So it's sort of like when you're writing a cover letter, you want to think about what can I do for the employer? It's your value proposition to the reader. So you want it to be what you can do for them. What are you bringing to the table? So for example, I might say, operations expert that quickly diagnoses root cause issues and implements cost reduction strategies to increase profit margins by at least 10% in the first year, or something like that. Something that's going to really grab their attention so they'll be like, whoa, that's what this person does. So let me give you a quick flip, even though I have it on the slide of what my about is, it might be hard to read on the slide. So I will go ahead and flip back over. And share my screen here. This is the About section. So see, someone has to really be interested in what I'm saying about myself to see more about me. And when you want to edit it, again, you just go to that little pencil and you can fill in that information about yourself. See, I have a lot of stuff there, which someone may or may not bother to click on to see more of that information about me. So, as I said, you do want to make yourself easy to find. So, what's one of the best ways to do that? Search engine optimization to optimize your profile. So, adding keywords to your headline, your about section, your experience, your skills throughout your profile page. You want to make sure that you're embedding words that are going to be coming up in a search engine. So, one of the best ways to do this is to simply cull through some job postings that are of interest to you, identify the qualifications, the requirements, the key responsibilities, maybe even check out, I'm a big fan of this, by the way, check out other people who have the job you want to get or who have the job that you want to get and see what they're putting in their profiles and see if you can sort of garner the same type of language and keywords and then embed them in your profile. This way, when people are hopefully looking to recruit using LinkedIn and they're doing some keyword searches, this is how people's profiles do come up. So for example, my husband will get an invitation through LinkedIn to connect because a recruiter will be looking for someone with his specific niche key skill set, and they will put in a keyword and he'll be one of the profiles that come up. And so then he'll get reached out to see, hey, do you want to talk about this opportunity? But it's because of those certain words that are in the profile that when the recruiter's looking for someone with a skill set, that they can type it in on the recruiter version of LinkedIn and then find you that way. So it's pretty important to put these words in your profile. Publishing content. This is something I really like to do personally, and I do recommend it for other people. So this is a great way to start to get some traction on your profile. So you can write an article about something that you recently read or learned about. If you attended a conference recently or a panel discussion, learned something in a course, then you can sort of write a reaction paper, if you will, or a commentary by writing an article. A lot of people will even just put it as their update in their status if they just have a quick blurb or a reaction to something that they recently learned. But I really like to publish content specifically by writing articles, but publishing content doesn't necessarily have to be writing an article. It could just be that you are sharing information with people in your, hopefully that are in your industry to show that you are on top of what's happening in your fields of interest. But for those of you who might want to write an article specifically, I will just, it's very easy to do so. And I will just quickly show you how you can access that part of LinkedIn. So if you're ready to write an article and you're on your homepage of LinkedIn, I could either start a post, which is just sharing some content, or I can write an article. And then when you click it on here, it puts you in your draft mode. It formats it for you. You can do all sorts of stuff. You can add video, you could add media, you could add images, you could do some fun formatting. And then when you're ready, you just click and publish it. So it's really easy to do. And it's a great way to show off your knowledge or your theories or things that you're working on currently. And it's something that can really help you gain some traction and get people to start to notice you on LinkedIn. While I'm here, I'll go back to the PowerPoint in a second, but while I'm here, I did want to just show you some other things so I don't have to flip back again, because my next slide is going to be focused on other parts of the profile. I would say it's important to prioritize recommendations over endorsements. So down here, you've got your skills and endorsements. And this is a great way where you can kind of laundry list your skills and how proficient you are. There's even some skill quizzes, as you could see, that are available. I'll be honest, these aren't really for soft skills or transferable skills. Most of them are more on the technical or software side of things. But for you techies out there, this might be a great way to say, not only am I proficient in Excel, but you could take the LinkedIn endorsement skill quiz on Excel, and then you'll receive a certain rating and badge from LinkedIn, which is something that might be nice. So you can add in your skills, and based on what you put in about yourself, LinkedIn does help you populate some of these things, and you can use that to start to add in your skills or think of other skills that you might have forgotten. And once you have your skills, the nice thing is people that know you might go into LinkedIn and endorse you for those skills, meaning, yep, I have interacted with Carolyn and she is really good at resume writing. And so she'll give me an endorsement. It's kind of like a pat on the back from someone you know, acknowledging a skill that you said you had. Recommendations are even a little bit more powerful because people are going in and writing about you. So next time you work with someone and they say, hey, you did a great job, ask them, would you mind going into LinkedIn and writing me a recommendation? It's pretty informal. It's not like asking for a letter of recommendation like you do for grad school or something like that. It's a little more casual, but it is a great way to kind of show off, hey, you did a good job for me. So it's something that you can ask. And of course, networking is about giving and getting. And so it's also something that you can give to people that you've interacted with. Hey, let me write you a recommendation because you were really helpful with that project we worked on. So now the fun of LinkedIn, and I do want to be mindful of my time because I know we're already cutting it close. I do want to, of course, talk about the power of LinkedIn. So once your profile is robust, now you're really ready to start connecting to people. So this slide here shows the power of LinkedIn and kind of what makes it different from other sites. LinkedIn shows how you're connected or linked to employers and other people. So for example, let's say I want to work for IBM, but I don't think I know anyone at IBM off the top of my head. I can go in and search the IBM page on LinkedIn. It will take me to the IBM company page, and from there I can click on people, and then it will bring up this page, and then I will be able to see who I know that's at LinkedIn, and that will show me my connection. Brian is actually someone I know at IBM. So because I kind of maybe said that a little bit quickly, let me make sure that I'm showing you all how to do that on LinkedIn. So I want to work for IBM. I just put it in my search bar. And then I'm going here because that's the official company IBM LinkedIn page. And then from here, I'm going to people. I know everyone just wants to shortcut and go right to jobs, but go to the people because that's going to help you get the job. So I'm going to go to my people. And then it's going to show me all the people at IBM that are also on LinkedIn. But it's going to show me some people that I'm connected to. So these are my second connections, my third connections, first connections. So if it's a first connection, I could reach out directly. If it's a second connection, I'm going to use my shared connection and ask them to introduce me. So I'll reach out to this person who's my shared connection and send a little note asking, would you mind connecting me to your person, Paul, at IBM? And then I would be specific about what I'm looking for and why I'm looking to connect. So that's the beauty of LinkedIn, because I didn't realize that I knew someone at IBM until I did that. The next thing you want to do is also try to leverage your groups. So of course, since we're here at George Mason, we should probably get connected with our George Mason alumni. So I'm going to, again, put that in my search group. I'm going to get into the group, And then I'm going to see, wow, there's over 15,000 members in this group already, right? So that's a group you want to join because that's an easy one. You don't have to even think about it. You know you're part of the nation, so just join the group. And then when I want to see who's in the group, there's all the people. And from here, I can start to narrow down my search. I could see who I know, I could message people, and I can connect with them. One of the best things to do when you're in a group is to be able to message people. When you message people, particularly when you don't know them, you want to make sure you're leveraging that you're in the same group as a way to draw them into your connection. I always recommend when you reach out and invite someone to connect, that you send a message that's personalized. And when you send the message, make it brief, but make sure that you give a description of your background and your goals and tell them really why you think they're a fit for your network. Explain what you want and why they are ideal to help, and be flexible with your time, okay? I know a lot of people will tell me, I would love to help someone who reached out to me, but I really didn't know what they wanted. Or I wasn't really sure why they were trying to connect with me. And then they feel weird and uncomfortable, so they don't get back to you. So the idea is you do want to kind of be upfront with what you're looking for. So for example, you send a little message to someone that you're connected to in the same group. Hello, Jesse. Like you, I'm a trade advocate in the DC area. Similarly, I earned my degree in conflict analysis and had a concentration in Middle Eastern studies. I'm exploring entry-level jobs in professional associations, and I think it would be helpful if I could chat with you about your experience and run some ideas by you that I have in regard to how I wish to use my language and experience. Would you be available to meet with me on Zoom sometime next week? Right? So be specific about what you're looking for and what you want and how you want that person to help you. So once you're reaching out to someone and they say, sure, let's connect, you want to take it to the next step, right? You want to set up that career conversation. So you're going to expand your network, and then you want to send out lots of requests for career conversations because not everyone will reply. So you do want to kind of get a lot of these requests out there. And then once you have a meeting scheduled, conduct some research on the person and or the organization so that you can go in there prepared with a good list of questions to ask them. And really it's about the why, how. Why are you interested in XYZ? How did you get that? What made you decide to return for an MBA after working for 3 years, right? You really want to use some knowledge and their experience to help you make your decisions about your career and how you could get started. So I do have a sample email message that you can put in your career conversation when you're reaching out to someone. Of course, this is just an idea of how to present your information, but you want to let them know who you are, where you're from, what you're interested in, and why you really want to connect with them. That's the most important. If you need more ideas about how to have a career conversation and what types of questions that you would ask that would be appropriate, I would recommend that you check out the Career Readiness Guide. It's under the Career Resources on our webpage, which is careers.gmu.edu, and that will give you a breakdown of some additional questions and resources to help you with this conversation. Please be sure to maintain your network. You want to use LinkedIn to share articles, information, publish your own thoughts and articles as well. Announce that there's a conference coming up. Is anyone else in the DC area headed to Ohio in 3 months for this presentation that I think is going to be, groundbreaking for our industry? I like it to send some holiday messages and greetings because you can sort of space those things out. And of course, you want to always make sure you're checking in and updating people on what's going on. If there's any major changes, that's a good time to reach out to people. And of course, use this time to get connected with people and then set up that follow-up phone call or video chat. I would recommend giving yourself anywhere from 5 to 30 minutes a day to do this, maintaining your network. That could mean reading an article, sharing an article, liking and commenting on someone else's post, making an endorsement, asking for a recommendation, or giving a recommendation. The other thing you can do, of course, on LinkedIn is to set up a job alert. It's pretty easy to do. You just put in what you're looking for and where you're looking for and click job alert. And this way it's going to help do some of that searching work for you. Again, the more robust your profile is, the better, because you'll have better matches from the algorithm behind the scenes. And also, once your profile is robust on LinkedIn, a lot of times you can do what they call easy apply through LinkedIn. So you can just click on the job that's of interest. And if you use easy apply on LinkedIn, then it sort of takes all of your LinkedIn information and bundles it into the application. So you don't have to go in and fill out a bunch of online applications, attach documents, and all of that fun stuff that happens when we're applying for jobs online. In my last couple of minutes, I just have a couple of more slides. I just want to make sure that you all know about Handshake and what a powerful tool you have at your disposal. Be sure when you log in, if you're using a mobile device, that you use your masonlive.gmu.edu and not just your gmu.edu address, by the way. Just a quick tip on that. And remember that when you log into Handshake, if you go to the Q&A piece, you can basically harness the power of Handshake. And so by clicking the Q&A, you can get advice, you can get inside scoop on employers and interviews and more. You can post your own question. You can even interact with students from other universities and get their take on what it was like to work for a certain employer, what did they do to prepare for an interview with a certain employer. All of those types of things you can find right there on Handshake under that Q&A. And if you tap on the students, then you can actually look up students that are even outside of the Mason network. And so the nice thing about this is that, let's say you're looking for ways to use your math degree, for example. You can look at what other students who also majored in math, whether it be at Mason or elsewhere, what are they up to now, right? So the moral of the story is, you want to engage with others, and there's lots of resources here at your fingertips, Handshake and LinkedIn being two of them. So I do hope that some of the information you got today is helpful. I hope you have some ideas about how to harness the power of LinkedIn and Handshake. And like I said, networking should be done all the time, whether we're social distancing or not, whether we're working at home or not, whether you're looking for a job or not. It's not something that you do at the last minute when you are looking for a job. It's not something you do just because I'm home and I have time. It needs to be sort of part of your fabric in your career development. Networking is one of those things that it's about relationship building. So it's not one and done. I introduced myself to Mary Claire Craft today, and I connected with her on LinkedIn, and I'll just sit around and wait and see if she hears about a job in my field and hits me up, right? That's not how it works. It's about cultivating those relationships and having some conversations. People are sitting at home, they're working, they're in front of their computer pretty much all the time now, and some people have a lull in their projects, some people don't. But this is really a great time to start to make connections. So use the time that you're stuck at home behind your computer to develop your network and connect with people online, because that's what a lot of people are doing now. And I know we're low on time, but I do have about 5 minutes for questions. So if there's any burning thoughts that anyone has that I haven't answered, Mary Claire will tell me what they are.
Yeah, a couple of questions have come through. The first being specifically related to your LinkedIn headline. We had a question come in asking about the idea of putting in the headline what you're looking for, as in, quote, looking for a full-time opportunity. Is that a good strategy or not?
So I think most people who are networking and on LinkedIn and putting their professional feet forward the idea is whether I am currently looking or not, everybody is kind of always looking for a job. So I wouldn't necessarily put it out there looking for, because I think it's sort of assumed, even if you have a job, right? People always like to know about where they can get a better job. So I don't think you necessarily need to say seeking full-time job. I think you can just put what type of role you are looking for and make that your headline. Um, if you feel like you're an entry-level person or aspiring to be something, I think you can put that in. You can put that you're ready to leverage bachelor's degree in IT with specialties in XYZ as your headline. Something that also is a little catchy, right? You don't want it to just say financial analyst, because there's a gazillion of them out there, but something about financial analyst and Excel wizard ready to embark on career as credit analyst or something like that, something a little jazzy.
Great. The questions are really pouring in. We'll get to as many of them as possible. Here's a question from somebody who lives in Pennsylvania but attends George Mason. Should they put Fairfax as their location, since that is where they'll be looking for opportunities?
I think that is fair, that some employers like to hire local. And so if you are looking in a specific area, that you can make that your area. But as we've learned, many jobs can be done remotely, it looks like, even those who, we thought maybe couldn't be. And so there's been a big shift. So location isn't, I think, as pivotal as it once was. And I think that will continue to be the trend. But certainly there are some employers that maybe do need that in-person piece of the job, and looking to hire local is always nice, especially if I know you're local. I don't have to fly you in for an interview or something like that, or worry about relocation expenses. So certainly put down the area that you want to work in. That's fine.
I want to acknowledge this great question. We may not have the answer for it right now. It's from a student who's using LinkedIn Learning and wants to know if they'll have access to that after they graduate. I don't know the answer to that. Do you, Carolyn?
I think there's a limited time that they will still be able to access it, but I'm not 100% sure. But I don't think it goes away right away.
A great idea would
Once
be
you're
to
on LinkedIn, you'll be able to access LinkedIn Learning. It just, it'll be powered up a little bit differently, I believe.
Okay. You could always reach out to Alumni Relations if you're curious about exploring what alumni benefits you keep. Here's another really good question, and it's about a certificate being more or less valuable than a minor. Kind of a broad question, but for LinkedIn, what do you think, Carolyn?
I think it depends on the field. So certainly in IT related fields and even some financial fields, certifications are very powerful. Having a A++ certification, for example, as an IT professional, I think is something that a lot of employers look for. And I don't know if it's, quote unquote, better than a minor in IT, but I know a certification in A++ is something that employers look for specifically. It's a specific qualification. Being a CFA, having a certification as a financial analyst is something that people look for. So I think it depends on your fields of interest to see what might be more marketable. But certainly certificates do tend to get a little bit of attention, I think sometimes more than minors, but it depends on how you package and present your knowledge.
That makes sense. We're at time, but let's try to get two more questions. Does that sound good, Carolyn?
Sure, sure.
I'm doing my best to reply to some via chat. Would you recommend connecting with a recruiter on LinkedIn after applying to the organization? And do you know of any sample messages?
I would absolutely connect with a recruiter after having any sort of interaction with someone. I would always connect with someone on LinkedIn. Anytime I meet anyone, I connect with them on LinkedIn. A quick little note to say it was nice to meet you, talk to you on such and such date at such and such place in regard to whatever it was. So was it they had already met the recruiter, you said? I'm sorry.
If you've applied to a job, would you then connect with the recruiter? So technically the question doesn't assume that you've met the person.
You've just applied, and now I found out who the recruiter was at the
LinkedIn.
company. Sure, I think you can. I think you can certainly reach out to say, I recently applied to job XYZ that was posted on your website, and I just wanted to connect with you in case you had any questions about my application or wanted to talk to me about other opportunities because I'm really interested in working at XYZ company because, and then give them a reason of like why you're so interested in the company.
Last,
Absolutely.
last question. We have a student who is a sophomore at Mason and doesn't have any experience yet in their field of interest besides from taking classes.
Yep.
What can they write on their profile to still stand out? Great question.
Great question. So a few things. One, I would say any and all work experience, volunteer experience, organization, student clubs. As a sophomore, I would say even something from high school that they did that was a vested interest or skill developing opportunity, to include that in their profile. For their courses, they can list their courses and they can break out what they learned, what their learning objectives were, if they had a project, if they had a research paper, a presentation, anything that's going to showcase the knowledge and skills that they developed in their courses. It's a great place to start.
And that's a great place to end.
Nice.
I will say we had a student who also wrote in, is there a way for all of us that were on the webinar to be able to network via LinkedIn? And yes, there is. You could go to LinkedIn right now. You could find myself, Mary Claire Craft. I'll be happy to accept your LinkedIn connection. And I'll post a little article thanking Carolyn for her time and her expertise today. And anybody who feels so inclined can like the article, share what you learned. And that way you'll be able to see who else was on the line and start building up your LinkedIn network that way. Sound like a plan?
And you can also feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn as well. I would love if you were in attendance today to connect with me. And of course, follow my directions of sending me a message saying how we met, which would be here, so I would know that you were a part of today's session.
That's right. And that you caught that very important advice, not just to reach out with
That's right. So there's a quiz involved, right?
That's right. That's right. We wouldn't let you get away without one of those. Again, Carolyn, thank you so much for your time and for your expertise. We hope that you all really enjoyed it. Go take a look at HANDSHAKE. We have, I think, 4 or 5 other events this week, all in an aim to support your career growth. Tomorrow we have one specially on HANDSHAKE and how to find jobs, including remote opportunities during this summer where that may be more important than others. So again, thank you very much for joining. Have a great rest of your day, and hopefully we see you at some of these events soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.